Ladies and gentlemen, they control their emotions. See, the biggest difference between people who win and people who stay stuck is how they handle what they feel. Everybody feels hurt. Everybody feels doubt. Everybody gets scared. But mentally strong people, they don't let those feelings lead their life. They don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You ever seen somebody throw away a relationship, a job, a blessing, all because they got angry for 5 minutes? That's not strength. That's weakness wearing a loud suit. Mentally strong folks, they feel the same things, but they don't live in them. When anger shows up, they breathe through it. They step back. They ask themselves, is this how I want to respond, or is this how I want to react? There's a big difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is automatic, emotional, sloppy. Responding is calm, is thought out, is controlled. That's power. Real power is when someone tries to push your buttons and you don't give them the satisfaction. You ever notice how calm people make everybody uncomfortable? That's because the world is used to chaos. The world is used to drama. But when you can stay calm in a storm, now that's strength. Most people are carrying around wounds they never healed from. And every little conflict is like salt in an old cut. You got to start recognizing when your reaction is really about them and when it's actually about you. Somebody bumps you in a hallway and you explode, it ain't about the hallway. It's about the 10 other times life hit you and you never processed it. Mentally strong people, they do that work. They sit with their feelings. They unpack them. They don't bury them. They don't drown them in distractions. They face them. It's hard, man, but that's how you get free. And let me tell you this. The enemy knows your weak spots. Life knows where to hit you. It ain't random. That pain always shows up right when you're leveling up. You ever notice that? When you finally get serious about your goals, here come the triggers. Here come the people who test your patience. Here come the memories. But mentally strong people, they understand it's part of the process. So when they feel overwhelmed, they don't fold, they get still. They get quiet, they find their center. Because reacting out of pain, out of fear, out of frustration, that's how you lose opportunities. That's how you burn bridges. That's how you hurt people you love. But when you take a step back, when you give yourself space, you reclaim your power. You know what else mentally strong people do? They don't explain themselves to everybody. They don't try to get everybody to understand their boundaries or their peace. They just live it. Because when you've done the work to control your emotions, you stop being controlled by other people's opinions. Somebody doesn't like how you said no? That's fine. You're not here to people please. You're not here to make everybody comfortable at the expense of your peace. Your job is to live in your truth with calmness, with clarity, with conviction. And let me say this, emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It doesn't mean you don't cry or get angry or feel sad. It means you own those emotions without letting them own you. It means you know how to say, I'm not okay right now without breaking everything in your path. It means you know how to sit with heartbreak, disappointment, frustration, and not turn it into destruction. That's the difference. That's maturity. That's strength. There's a reason emotional control is at the core of mental toughness. Because life ain't predictable. People will betray you, plans will fall apart, you get bad news on a good day. And if you don't know how to manage what's going on inside, the world will always control you from the outside. But when you build that inner strength, man, nobody can take that from you. They can talk about you, leave you, underestimate you, and you'll still move with grace. You'll still stay locked in on your goals. You'll still walk like a king or a queen through the chaos. That's why the strongest people you meet are usually the quietest in the room. They're not loud because they don't need to prove anything. They've mastered themselves. And that kind of control, that kind of peace, that's what mentally strong people protect with everything they've got. They embrace change. That's one of the hardest things for most people to do, but it's something mentally strong individuals make a habit of. Change is uncomfortable, unpredictable, and sometimes even painful, but it's also inevitable. Life doesn't stay still, and neither should you. Mentally strong people understand this truth on a deep level. They don't waste time trying to hold on to what's already gone. They don't pry over doors that have closed. They accept, they adjust, and they move forward. You know what most folks do when change comes? They panic. They resist it. They fight to keep things the way they were, even when the old way no longer serves them. They stay in relationships they've outgrown. They keep jobs that drain them. They live in fear of the unknown, clinging to a version of life that stopped working a long time ago. But mentally strong people, they don't run from change. They lean into it. They treat it like a teacher, because they know every shift is either a lesson or a blessing, sometimes both. Think about a snake. It has to shed its skin in order to grow. That process is uncomfortable, it's raw, and it leaves them vulnerable for a while. But if they don't shed that old layer, they die. Humans ain't that different. You can't keep growing in the same mindset, in the same surroundings, with the same habits. Sometimes growth requires you to leave people behind, to step into unfamiliar territory, to say goodbye to the version of you that was playing small. Mentally strong people make peace with uncertainty. They understand that not having all the answers doesn't mean failure, it means evolution. They've trained themselves to pivot when life throws a curveball. When a plan doesn't work, they don't give up. They find another way. They say, okay, that door's shut, cool. Where's the next one? They don't sit around asking, why me? Instead, they ask, what's next? Because they know life doesn't owe you comfort. It offers growth. And growth only comes from stepping into the unknown. And let me tell you something, change tests you. It tests your patience, your faith, your character. It'll shake your routines. It'll break your ego. It'll humble you. But that's how you find out who you really are. That's how mentally strong people are built. In the fire of change, they've gone through heartbreaks, job losses, health scares, betrayals, financial ruin. And they came out stronger, not because they avoided the storm, but because they went through it and learned how to dance in the rain. One thing you'll notice about mentally strong people is they're always learning, always adapting. They read, they listen, they ask questions. They're not stuck in their ways. They don't get so attached to their own opinions that they can't hear a new one. Because the moment you think you've got it all figured out, that's the moment you stop growing. Change demands that you stay open. It demands humility. You got to be willing to unlearn what no longer serves you. That belief you picked up in childhood might need to go. That routine that worked last year might not work now. Mentally strong people aren't afraid to start over. They don't see it as failure. They see it as a fresh canvas. Here's the thing. You don't need to love change, but you do need to respect it. Resisting change is like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. You'll just exhaust yourself. And while you're stuck in fear, life is passing you by. Mentally strong people know that growth lives on the other side of discomfort. So they get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the secret. They show up even when it's scary. They apply for the job even if they're not 100% ready. They speak up even when their voice shakes. They invest in themselves when everyone else is playing it safe because they know comfort zones don't create champions. They've learned to use change as fuel. Lost a job? Start that business. Got rejected? Level up. Got your heart broken? Build yourself. Every change becomes an invitation to rise. That's how mentally strong people move. They don't ask life to be easier. They ask themselves to be better. And you know what? That mindset makes all the difference. You ever seen someone who stayed in the same place for 10, 20 years and they're still bitter, still blaming the world? That's what happens when you resist change. You grow stale. Your spirit shrinks. But the ones who rise, they've been through hell and back, and every time they came out with more wisdom, more clarity, more drive, change didn't break them. There's another thing. Mentally strong people surround themselves with people who embrace change too. You can't keep growing if you're around people who are committed to staying the same. Growth threatens people who don't want to grow. So when you start changing your mindset, your goals, your habits, not everybody's going to clap for you. Some people are going to fall off. And that's okay. Mentally strong folks don't chase who walked away. They bless it and keep moving. Because if they stayed, you'd be stuck too. Change ain't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. A shift in how you think. A decision to wake up earlier. A boundary you finally set. A toxic habit you choose to break. It's in those small moments, day after day, that transformation happens. Mentally strong people understand that. They don't wait for a big breakthrough. They create small changes that lead to big results. They don't see change as something to fear. They see it as something to master. Because when you master the art of adapting, you become unstoppable. You stop fearing failure because you know you can bounce back. You stop fearing endings because you know they lead to new beginnings. You stop fearing loss because you know you are capable of rebuilding. That kind of mindset, that's not strength. That's freedom. Change will come whether you're ready or not. So the real question is, are you going to let it break you or are you going to let it shape you? Mentally strong people choose the latter every single time. They stay in control of their emotions. Now let's be real. That's not about ignoring how you feel or pretending life doesn't hit hard sometimes. It's about refusing to let your emotions run your life. See, mentally strong people feel everything. The sadness, the anger, the disappointment, they go through it all. But they don't let those emotions dictate their actions, their decisions, or their reactions. That's what makes them different. That's what makes them powerful. A lot of people let emotions control the steering wheel. Somebody says something disrespectful, boom, they explode. A situation doesn't go their way, they shut down. Their whole day is ruined by a small comment or a minor inconvenience. That's emotional immaturity, and it keeps people stuck. But mentally strong people, they pause, they process, they respond with purpose instead of reacting on impulse. Self-control isn't about being cold or numb. It's about having the strength to choose your response, even when emotions are running high. Imagine you're in an argument. Your heart's racing, your ego's bruised, and all you want to do is snap back. But mentally strong people know just because you feel like reacting doesn't mean you should. They don't hand over their peace to anyone else. They don't give people that kind of power. Because here's the thing, your emotions are valid, but they're not always accurate. They're influenced by past pain, insecurities, old wounds, fears, and assumptions. You might feel rejected when someone's just busy. You might feel attacked when someone's trying to help. You might feel like quitting just because you had a rough day. That's why mentally strong people don't just feel emotions, they examine them. They ask, where is this coming from? Is it true? Is this how I want to act based on this? That takes self-awareness, and self-awareness isn't built overnight. It's developed through reflection, honesty, and discipline. You got to be able to sit with your emotions without letting them drive the car. Anger shows up, okay. Don't ignore it, but don't let it blow up your relationships either. Sadness hits, let it teach you something, but don't unpack and live there. Fear creeps in, understand it, but don't let it stop you. Mentally strong people also understand that emotional control helps them see the bigger picture. In the heat of the moment, you might want revenge or validation or to prove a point. But when your mind is calm and your emotions are grounded, you realize peace is better than proving you're right. Progress is better than pride. Growth is better than getting even. They also don't let temporary feelings destroy long-term opportunities. Just because you're frustrated today doesn't mean you quit the goal you've been working on for months. Just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you stop trusting everyone. Just because things aren't going your way right now doesn't mean they never will. Mentally strong people have emotional endurance. They know how to breathe through the fire and stay focused on the mission. And this emotional discipline shows up in the little things too, like staying respectful during conflict, like keeping promises even when you're not in the mood, like being kind when you're tired. That's strength. Anyone can be nice when they feel good. Anyone can show up when it's convenient, but mentally strong people show up with integrity, even when it's uncomfortable, even when emotions are swirling. Now, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean they're emotionless, far from it. In fact, mentally strong people usually feel things more deeply than most. But they've learned that feelings are data, not directions. They use emotions as signals, not chains. They allow emotions to inform them, not control them. You know what else? They don't take everything personally. That's a big one. Weak minds think everything is about them. Somebody's in a bad mood, oh, they must not like me. Somebody doesn't respond fast enough, they're ignoring me. But mentally strong people know most of the time people are fighting battles we can't see. So instead of jumping to conclusions, they give grace. Instead of assuming the worst, they ask questions. That kind of emotional control keeps relationships healthy and boundaries clear. They also don't seek validation through emotional outbursts. They don't cry just to manipulate. They don't yell to gain control. They don't play the victim to get sympathy. That's emotional manipulation, not strength. Real strength is being honest with your emotions, but not using them to control others or to escape accountability. And let me tell you, this kind of control gets tested the most when life hits hard, when you lose someone, when you're betrayed, when the door you were counting on gets slammed shut. That's when your emotions feel like a tidal wave. But mentally strong people have practiced riding that wave without drowning in it. They journal, they pray, they meditate, they talk to someone they trust. They let the storm pass without making destructive choices in the middle of it. You see, it's easy to act right when things are going right, but how do you handle disappointment? How do you act when you're under pressure? That's where emotional strength reveals itself. Mentally strong people don't lose themselves in the chaos. They might stumble, but they come back to center because they've trained for that moment. And you can train too. Start small. The next time you feel triggered, don't react immediately. Breathe. The next time you're overwhelmed, instead of shutting down, write it down. When someone offends you, ask yourself, Is this worth my peace? It's not about being perfect. It's about practicing awareness and control until it becomes second nature. That's what makes the difference. Not power, not money, not talent, but your ability to master yourself. Because once you do that, nothing and no one can take your peace. They don't waste energy on things they can't control. This one right here is a game changer. Because let's be honest, so many of us are walking around tired, frustrated, anxious, and bitter, not because of what is happening, but because we're trying to control what we never had power over in the first place. Mentally strong people understand a powerful truth. Not everything is in your hands, and that's okay. They've learned to let go of the need to micromanage life, people, outcomes, and timing. They've stopped trying to force the world to move according to their schedule, and because of that, they're free emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. See, energy is like money. You only get so much of it in a day. And if you're spending all of it worrying about what someone thinks of you, stressing over whether people approve of your choices, getting angry at how someone else behaves, or constantly replaying what went wrong yesterday, then you've got no energy left for what actually matters. You've already drained your battery, and it wasn't even for something you could change. That's where mentally strong people take a different path. They focus on what they can control. Their attitude, their effort, their discipline, their words, their boundaries, their reactions, their growth. That's it. Everything else, they let it go. They don't try to control the weather. They adjust their plans. They don't try to control people. They set clear boundaries. They don't try to control outcomes. They stay consistent and let results unfold in their own time. Now, this doesn't mean mentally strong people don't care. It means they care wisely. They know the difference between influence and control. They'll do their part, but they won't carry the whole world on their back. If someone's not willing to change, that's not their job. If life throws a curveball, they adapt. If the past was painful, they learn from it, but they don't live in it. Here's a secret most people miss. Trying to control everything is just another form of fear. When we're afraid of failure, of rejection, of the unknown, we try to grab onto anything that feels like control. We obsess, overthink, manipulate, and cling to people or situations just to feel safe. But that's not real safety. That's anxiety wearing a mask. Mentally strong people face the fear instead. They admit, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust myself to handle it. That's real power. There's also humility in letting go, because trying to control everything is rooted in ego and the belief that everything has to happen your way, your time, your method. But mentally strong people trade ego for peace. They say, this is bigger than me. I can't control it, but I can control how I walk through it. That's the kind of mindset that brings clarity and inner strength. Mentally strong people also know how to spot the traps. They don't waste time trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. They don't chase closure from people who aren't capable of giving it. They don't lose sleep over gossip, over someone else's bad mood, or over every little thing that doesn't go perfectly. They don't let every bump in the road steal their focus, because they've got something bigger to work on themselves. They also accept that setbacks and uncertainty are part of the journey. They don't throw tantrums when life isn't fair. They pivot. They don't collapse when the plan doesn't work. They rework the plan. Because the truth is, Life is unpredictable. You can plan everything to the last detail and still things will shift. The job offer might fall through, the relationship might end, the opportunity might go to someone else, but mentally strong people don't crumble under that. They keep moving forward, not because they control the storm, but because they control their ship. And that's another key point. Peace isn't found in controlling everything. Peace is found in trusting yourself in the face of uncertainty. That's why mentally strong people don't get paralyzed by what ifs. They've built faith in their ability to adapt, to learn, to bounce back. They don't need to predict every outcome because they've prepared themselves to handle whatever comes. You can see this in their daily habits too. They don't spend hours doom scrolling through bad news. They don't obsess over likes and followers. They don't compare their path to everyone else's highlight reel. Why? Because none of that is in their control. What is in their control is showing up, doing the work, taking care of their mind and body, and protecting their energy. And protecting their energy is a big one. They guard their peace like it's sacred, because it is. They choose where their attention goes. They understand that complaining changes nothing, that worrying steals time, and that resentment keeps them chained to the past. So they let go, not for the other person, but for themselves. Now, that doesn't mean they don't care about improvement or making change in the world. On the contrary, they do take action. But they take action from a grounded place, not a reactive one. They don't try to fix everything overnight or save everyone around them. They focus on being the kind of person who brings light into the room, not the one who tries to control everyone's candles. And if something doesn't go their way, they don't fall apart. They say, it wasn't meant for me. Let me keep going. They've developed the mental habit of acceptance, not passive surrender, but the kind of acceptance that says, I won't waste another minute fighting what I can't change. I'll focus instead on building what I can. You want to become mentally strong? Start here. Look at your energy leaks. Where are you trying to control something that's outside your hands? Is it a relationship, a situation from the past, someone's opinion of you, the timing of your success? Mentally strong people unplug from those drains. They redirect their energy back into themselves. You don't need to fix everything to find peace. You need to fix your focus. The sooner you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable, the sooner you step into your true power. And from that place, anything becomes possible.